Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is day one of a new series we are having on this channel called Chess Lessons from Grandmasters. So today we are going to be using the book Chess Fundamentals by Jose Capablanca. Jose Capablanca was one great player. He was world chess champion from 1921 to 1927. And although that's century ago, over a century ago actually, they say old is gold, and truly, Capablanca's tactics are timeless. And I would like us as a community to study his tactics so that we can all improve on chess. I mean, he played chess games from 1916 to 1924, and we have it that Capablanca did not lose as much as one game in 8 years playing. He was that good. So whatever lesson we can be able to get from him is going to be a very vital nugget to add to our arsenal of chess tactics. So at the start of the book, he posed the question, how do we checkmate a king using a king and a rook in the least amount of moves? And the solution, according to Capablanca, was to ensure that the king is confined to the last rank, either on rank 8 or rank 1. So for instance, now if you look at the board on the screen, you can see that the black king, it's on rank 8. And in this position, it's actually white moves to play. So what is the right move for white to make here now? Yes, you are right. White is expected to move to rook a7. Once the rook is moved to the 7th rank, we can then see that the black king is confined to the 8th rank. So the only legal move for black to play here would be to move king g8. So of course, the rook is not going to execute the checkmate alone. So the king is supposed to move towards the rook to assist the rook in executing this checkmate. So in this game, we are going to have something like this, where both kings gravitate towards the rook in hope of the black king getting to the rook and hopefully by some devious magic take the rook and the black king moving towards the rook to serve as a protection from the rook and helping to checkmate. But now once the white king gets to this position on the 5th rank and it's time to move, we have a problem to solve. Does the white king move to c6, or does the white king move to d6? I want you all to think about it for a while. Which would be the right move for the king so as to finish the game in the least number of moves? Now, if you thought of c6, then my brothers and sisters, you are wrong. Because it comes down to the to understanding the fundamentals of chess really. This position is the ideal position you want to get to. A situation where the king, the two kings, white king and black king, are facing each other at opposite ends, such that the king controls the 3 squares in front of it, and moving the rook to the 8th rank is going to lead to a checkmate. But the problem is, after the king makes this move to c6, it's now black's turn to play. And guess what? Black would move back. Boom. Black will move back to this d8. And we get to see a situation where the king now has to move towards the black king again to get that that configuration of the kings being in opposite, and the black king would do what? Would move away. So we'll get to a situation where the white king will need to force the black king towards the H file, forcing the black king towards the H file, such that once the black king enters into H8, then the rook can then move to the last rank and execute a checkmate. But as is normal in chess, once the king gets to G7, the king would come up with something else. And what is that? Move to F8. So you can see the king now has moved away from the white king, and now we now get into a situation where we repeat the same sequence of moves. The black king does his best to move away from the front of the white king, and as you can see, this is definitely not the an optimal way to play the game. So what do? We go back to the situation we found ourselves in. Yes. So the correct move is for the king to move to D6. Now the king is adjacent, the white king is adjacent to the black king. But guess what? If the black king tries the same idea and goes back, it is opposite the white king, and now it is white's move to play. So white rook just makes a brilliant checkmate. But of course, the black king isn't going to do that. So he's going to move towards the rook in hopes of picking up the rook. So what do? We move the rook. We move the rook to C7. And guess what? The king now has only two legal squares to move to. So the king moves to A8, that's the black king, and then the white king positions itself opposite the black king. And then, even though it's black king to move away, the black king is helpless here, as the rook is going to move down to the last rank and create a checkmate. So as you can see, if played right, the white king and the rook can be able to checkmate the black king in as little as 10 moves, just 10 moves, and it's all over for the black king. But that only occurs if the white kings move to D6. Let's go back to that position. Only occurs if, in this situation, the white king moves to D6 instead of moving to C6. So don't forget, the idea is for the white king and the black king to be opposite each other at a point where it is white to make the move. So in this situation, what the black king and the white king were opposite each other, but it was black to make the move. So black moved away. But in the main line that we saw, when the white king and the black king were opposite each other and the black king was confined, the rook was able to make a checkmate. So that's all for our first chess lesson for the day.